Welcome to the cityCURRENT radio show. I'm Andrew Bartolotta, Director of Digital Media here at cityCURRENT. It is time to prioritize our wellness. Today, we're diving into gut health, nutrition, and using food as medicine with Dr. WendyLeigh White, a licensed naturopathic doctor who empowers people to understand the interconnected systems of your body and its specific needs. Dr. White, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. This is fabulous.
So give listeners a sense for what naturopathic means and how your path led you there.
Naturopathic medicine really has faith that the body's brilliantly designed and that we can support its functioning. And that leads to living in a healthier way. And so what this looks like is food and nutrition and herbs and stress management and relationships, all the things that we have choices about in our lives day to day. So naturopathic medicine treats the root cause, the whole person, and really looks at the environment in which you're living and tries to tweak things so that your body can function at its best. In a nutshell, how I got here was I was a super sickly kid and young adult and was seeking answers of how I wouldn't necessarily follow the ill health of my parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles. And so I just kept exploring. So I have a master's degree in food science. So I worked in the food industry as my first career and was super sick during that time and was seeking answers through chiropractors, Chinese medicine, holistic nutritionists. And I found a naturopathic doctor. And then it was just this big light bulb of like, you hear like the angels singing of like, like I had found it. And that's how I got here. And I thought everyone needs to know that A, we are amazingly designed, and B, there are other choices to support health that are more internally focused and less externally focused.
When I was introducing you, I talked about having a non-diet approach.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Yeah, so I'm going to lump the non-diet and the weight neutral kind of in the same explanation, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Start with the non-diet just means that when you think of the word diet, it seems like it's a lot of someone else's external rules that you, quote, should follow. And what happens is if someone's following an external set of rules, if those rules don't apply to their individual physiology, then they're going to internalize it and say, well, I didn't work hard enough. I don't have willpower. Well, I'm broken because it didn't work for me, which is just not fair and not true. There's no one set of external guidelines that works for everyone. And so that's the non-diet, is that there's no strict set of rules that you have to follow. We're really resilient beings. And I've learned through tuning into my own being what works for me more than what doesn't, right? There are certain foods that I eat that irritate me. And there are foods that I eat that I feel really nourished by. And I'm resilient. So I can choose to eat that irritating food. I might feel not my best, but that's okay. I can still choose to do that. I don't have to be perfect. I can trust that my body has the built-in resiliency to like get that irritation and be okay, heal itself, move forward. So that's the non-diet piece. The weight neutral piece means that none of us has control over our weight. We have control over our choices in life to some extent, and we can focus on making more choices that make us healthier, making less choices that irritate us, and our weight's going to do what our weight's going to do. And for people who have been told when they go to the physician that all they need to do is, quote, lose weight and everything will magically clear up, A, it's false. B, it's the wrong way to treat a human being. If you look at, there's this great study that looks at the amount of padding and the distribution of padding in twins, in identical twins. And you look at the identical twins, and Their amount of padding and their distribution of padding, meaning like where they tend to hold their padding, is about the same. If you look at it as is, by the way, their height, they're about the same. If you look at fraternal twins, they're not identical. Their padding is distributed in a different way from each other, as is their height. That just shows us that our amount of padding is one of those genetic things. I just came out with a smaller body. I'm just that way. Other people live in larger bodies. They're just that way. And to make any assumptions about anything, their health, their willpower, their diet, their movement, is just not accurate.
I love that because it really sort of demystifies something that we are so ingrained with pop culture and the media about being a certain size and sticking to that and numbers. And it really is about health at every size. And when I'm saying health at every size, it is something that you talk about. What does the health at every size mean?
It means that the focus is on making choices that make someone feel well. The focus is not at all on the number on a scale. And so I know plenty of people who live in larger bodies who don't have knee pain. I know plenty of people who live in smaller bodies who are less healthy than some people who live in larger bodies, right? So the health at every size just says everyone, no matter their amount of padding or the distribution of padding, everyone has the ability to be healthy. And there's so many studies that people who live in larger bodies don't go to the doctors because they're not going to be shamed and told that they just need to lose weight. It's infuriating, it's dehumanizing. And so people who live in larger bodies tend to get less health care. And it's just not okay. It's just 100% not okay that one factor of them is what someone sees with tunnel vision.
You have a fantastic free ebook on your website titled The 10 Healing Foods for Everyday Ailments. Tease us with a few of them and then share your website information so people can go and download it.
Absolutely. So often when we hear food as medicine in like mainstream culture, pop culture, it's talking about using food to prevent chronic diseases long term and things of that nature. This ebook I developed because I want people to be able to trust that when they need soothing or healing, it's not the external substance that does the work. It's really that external substance stimulating their own bodies to do the healing, that our bodies are amazing to do the healing. So something that I love is an idea of a throat gargle. So if someone has a sore throat, let's say that they have a virus or allergens that are irritating it, or they have a little bit of a bacterial growth going on in there. The conditions under which that sore throat formed create it to be dry, raw, and irritated. So what we can do to help soothe the body and change the conditions is a throat gargle. And it can be as simple as some salt water in warm water that you gargle and then spit. And that salt water is going to change the environment that allowed the bacteria or virus to grow, and or it's going to wash out any of the pollen or the irritants from an allergic reaction. So that's the like most basic, simple throat gargle with salt water. But you can add some apple cider vinegar, which again is like changing the pH, changing the level of acidity in your throat. You could add some honey, in which case you wouldn't spit, you'd then swallow. Honey soothes the throat. So if there's dry, red, raw, irritated feeling, it's going to help soothe it. Often when we're red and raw, we're vulnerable, and it allows like other things to get in and then irritate us more, and it's a bad cycle. But the honey just soothes the throat and coats it and protects you from anything else that might want to come in and wreak havoc. So that throat gargle is just a super easy thing to start with. Another one for skin that I love, and this actually came up in clinic this week, where if someone, like there are those of us, I'm one of them, that's more an allergic creature than others. And sometimes, whether it's I've worked in the garden or I wore my wool socks too many days in a row and like I got started feeling a little itchy, a perfect soothe to that is to take an oatmeal bath. And what that is literally taking oats, whether it's Quaker or any other brand, whatever oats you have in the kitchen, putting them in a sock and then making a bath. So basically you're making a big tea of oatmeal that you're going to soak in. Oats have this amazing demulcent quality, which just means they encourage a soothing layer to coat your skin that helps you stay moisturized and less itchy. And so that's just a simple, the only reason you need the sock is so that you don't clog your drain when the oatmeal drains down.
Yeah, that's
But
a
you're just making a big oat tea and you're soaking in it, and it really coats and soothes irritated, dry skin.
I love these tips because they're not expensive. They're not rocket science. It's not, oh, you have to go to this specialty store and get this, and this, and then come back and mash it and mix it yourself. I mean, these are things that we have in our cabinet. There are things that people have used for thousands of years, and they are tried and true and work.
Often when people talk about like home remedies, many times they're herbal based and they're just herbs that people don't have in their kitchen. Any of the herbs I used, like there's a sinus congestion recipe in here, it uses either rosemary or thyme. Many people have that in their spice cabinet. So that was the point of this whole ebook, is things that people have in their kitchens, because we are part, I mean, we're just fancy animals. We're part of nature. And we can have access to other natural things that we kind of, whatever your philosophy is, whether we co-evolved with them or whether a master creator created both of us side by side, we're part of nature. And when we trust that nature can be helping us stimulate our healing, it just gets exciting. We see things around us in such a new way.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm thinking about all the things in my pantry that can help me heal through maybe some of my sinus congestion. I think that's great. Let's talk about stress. A lot of people over the past year with the pandemic and trying to deal with business, their personal life, family life, in their career. How does stress, what does it have to do with health?
Oh my goodness, everything. So this is perfect timing. I just did a Facebook Live on balance your nervous system this morning. So Dr. WendyLeigh White is my Facebook business page. You can find that live. It's recorded there. Um, our body is a big spider web, and our levels of stress or our nervous system really interacts with all other systems in our body, our digestive tract, our immune system, our mood, our reproduction, our metabolism and our endocrine system, our hormones. And so the more stressed out we are, the less everything else functions well. So if someone were going to work on just one thing with me, and I pick stress as kind of that central topic, there's two factors. One is reducing as much stress as you can, looking at how you live, how your schedule is, what support systems you have in place, how much sleep you get, limiting exposure to negativity and news. I'm not saying be ignorant and totally disconnect, but limiting exposure. So that's all the like, how can we control what stress we have? The second piece is we're humans living in the society we live in. There's always going to be stress. And so that second piece is whatever stress we couldn't eliminate, social justice, cultural, political, financial, whatever it is we don't have the direct power over, how can we change our self-talk? How can we make sure we're deep breathing? How can we make sure we have a release of our stress, whether it's journaling or exercising? And all of that directly relates to our blood sugar, our risk of diabetes, our risk of high blood pressure, our risk of cardiovascular disease, our resiliency of our immune system and the likelihood we'd get sick. So you can see that this piece of stress really just radiates the spider web out to all other aspects.
Man, I love it. I feel like we're already on our path to wellness already. That's great. Now, where can people go to learn more, support your efforts, purchase your online course, and schedule a one-on-one telehealth consultation with you?
So the best place is my website, drwendyleighwhite.com.
Great. Well, Dr. White, WendyLeigh, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me, Andrew. This was fun.